Right,
Yeah.
I thought we had a one where, I'll have to go back and look and see, but I thought that we, wanted to have some discretion at the school level
level,
before
yeah.
it went up to the executive director, and I thought that amount was like 250.
Mhm.
Does that
Sounds
ring a
right.
bell to anybody?
Yeah, I know that the principal was supposed to be able to approve them at, and I'm not sure the dollar, but I do remember at some point, because
Yeah,
there'd probably be quite a few of them and,
right.
you know,
Mhm.
And we didn't want to have a big bottleneck
right.
for, or a, a long delay
Sure.
process for amount that was minor.
Mhm.
Ms. Davis, Dr. Flores, do you remember?
I don't recall the amount.
Well, would you all like to just come up with an amount that you think is appropriate?
Well, since in the back of your mind, you were thinking 250, why don't we go with 250?
That's,
Well, we say that if the funds intended to be raised, oh, I see 500 or less. Okay.
yeah.
So then,
So, or maybe we could just say 500 or more, maybe instead of the less, because
Yeah.
then everything below that would just be able to be by principal's approval.
sure. Although we
And
do say if
then,
it exceeds 500, then the approval of the superintendent is needed.
and then
So
we could go to maybe 1,000 for the superintendent.
yeah, I don't think the superintendent needs to be bothered for a $500
I don't either.
donation.
I like that idea better too.
Yeah,
And
me
then
too.
Mhm.
And we can have, okay, very good. And then I'll put in some language about the principal being able to approve anything below that.
Okay.
Great.
Right. Well, that was it.
So Sharon, with those, I know the laws don't have to be, or the rules don't have to be voted on by the full board, but does that policy 8670 we need to vote on at the next meeting?
Yes, the two policies, the bylaw change and the policy change need to be actually action items. And then we will put the rules as information items.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So next thing on our agenda is the equity and inclusion policy draft. Our hope is to get this ready to present to the full board. I know that there will be some equity work at our board retreat. But the thinking is that we will have this ready prior to that. And then obviously any input that develops at the retreat could be added to it. But if we could get the work done, I think that that would be beneficial to the full board. So what we were sent to edit was the strategic plan, correct? Do we want to look at the policy first?
Well, wasn't
So
that
the,
editing the policy?
so the
Just both.
policy is embedded in that strategic, so that's the part of the strategic plan that holds the policy. So
Okay.
you did
Okay.
look at the whole thing.
Okay, so it probably makes sense to look at that document that we all edited and go through that and decide if our edits should be made permanent. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
May I, Ms. Davis, if I may, I would like to know if other people felt like I did. I read it through a couple of different times and I was very pleased. It seemed like everything that we talked about is in there. Comments that we made last time, we seem to be covered. So I really didn't find a lot of things wrong with the meat of the matter. I found some things that are just really simply, grammar, syntax, parallel structure, stuff like that. Maybe word choice, but other than that, I thought the policy as written was addressing what we needed it to.
I felt the same way. I think there were just small adjustments.
What did you
Yeah.
think, Jen? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I know, I'm just wondering
Yeah.
what Jen and Jose.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was looking at it for the little stuff. I felt the same exact way. Like the heart of what we are intending is absolutely there. Just, you know, shalls and musts and wills. And are we talking in future tense or present tense?
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff
Mhm.
does matter, especially in a policy. But yeah, there wasn't major content that I felt like needed to be revised.
Yeah, my view was the same. And when I looked at it, I I saw all of Kathy's edits, and I didn't do the enable editing because I didn't really want to touch it. You know, I'm a little bit hesitant on that.
Don't ever
process.
give me anything
But
to edit, you know, never do
but I-
that, you know.
But I did look at it with a teacher's lens too, and and was looking at
Did
how
you
we're-
catch the more that I missed?
well, you know, I thought that there was one little section where it uses the word that twice, you know, and that seemed a little bit redundant. I can't. I think it's in the broader version here of the strategic plan, but and just a couple of little things that I noted as I was reading it this afternoon again here, and I don't know, it did include all of the things that we suggested, and that helped me to allay some of my other, you know, initial concerns about it. I really think it does need to be a little more concise, and perhaps a little bit more. Maybe there need to be more words of the district shall or staff will. You know, kind of like what Jen said. I think that would make it stronger. I think a lot of it can be reduced. Just looking in terms of comparing it with other districts that have done the same work. And so I'd say it's definitely a work in progress, and that we should, you know, continue to chip away at it if we elect to do so.
Go ahead, Malika.
Yeah, so I initially, a few years ago, when I created the first draft of this, there was this full draft that had all the explanations, what we believe, the definitions, and then there was parts, what you see now is part 6. And then there was another version that only had part 6 and an intro. So am I hearing that we want to separate these? To where what you see or what you present to the board is just section 6, maybe with the intro about
The way that they are on board docs right now is the separate version. We see it as the policy, what the policy would look like on our board policy page. And then your strategic plan seems like the one on Google Docs was the combined version. I had to remind myself as I was reading through the Google Doc that, oh, this is both. I'm not reading the whole policy. And you make that clear. It's just been a while. So I had to be
I
reminded.
totally get
Yeah.
it.
So
Yeah.
I think for the benefit of the board, it would help them to see it separate, I would guess, just based on my own experience.
Okay.
And that's probably where my comments come from that perspective of, you know, I'm used to seeing the policies as being very, very concise, you know, short. And then I was looking at the whole strategic plan, and I guess I was, you know, somewhat confused as to how this is being presented. Is it going to be presented as a full-blown policy that includes the strategic plan, or just what? How we were approaching that. So that's part of my concern about this document.
Sharon, would it just be that section 6, the actual policy that the board would have to vote on?
Yes, we could certainly do that, you know, and then have the board, maybe the discussion would be around the whole strategic plan, because, you know, as you said, Ms. Davis, and that the board wants to have some input before the finalization. So maybe giving them that, and then saying, and you know, and we've extrapolated out these points that would be the ultimate policy. But if there's anything else that you all, you know, that you feel is missing, or whatever kind of discussion that you all want to have around it, so they'd have the context for the policy.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I
Yeah, you
also-
guys have the benefit of having the whole context. So when you see just those, that what's on page 6, you have a deep understanding of what that entails.
Mhm. And I also want to, this is the intro to what will be the strategic policy. So it's not in entirety by any means. There's going to have to be some other work that we're working on right now to go behind it. So this really is just the context setter, and then it has what we're going to do, and then what will follow it will be how we plan to get there.
Oh, that'll make Kim happy, right, Kim Davis? Isn't that what you were worried about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you all have our edited version that we all put, different edits in open or not, but if we just look at section 6, the policy itself, in the document that we all edited, that first bullet point, I just have highlighted in yellow. Is this one the bullet point that's saying that the district will do an annual equity audit? Because I know we talked about that at the last policy meeting. It says the district shall review practices, procedures, and programs. And my wonder was, do we need to make that more concrete, that we will do an annual audit? Does that make sense?
Yes, and the other thing is, I think if we just take what's in section 6, I think we'll have to put like a preamble, on it. So maybe some of the other parts of it, some brief introduction to get into these bullets. But yes, I think that could be an additional statement that the district will do an annual equity audit and present it to the board, something like that.
And looking down at the other bullet points, I thought that the bullet points in blue were definitely, we took what was said at our last policy meeting and it was added to this, so I appreciated that.
Ms. Davis,
However,
that
yes.
third bullet down, the third blue bullet on page 6,
Yes,
is that, or is that a little bit different? It says the equity review audits. And we said completed annually or biennially or biannually. I think it's probably biennially.
Yeah.
I think you all would need to determine that.
yeah, I'm wondering if that's two different things.
That's what I was asking you. Is that two different things?
Yeah, I think the second half of that is what I was speaking to in the first bullet point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that could really be just a separate thing that we're saying we will,
Mm-hmm.
the district shall have an annual or biannual. What do you guys think? Should we do it every year or?
Every year, I think every year.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we should ask Malika what she thinks.
Yeah, what is entailed?
Yeah.
That
From
was
an
going to be my
administrative
question.
perspective.
Yeah, what is
about
it that you want? I mean, so on the one hand, I really want administrators to be able to do some equity checkups within their building on, certainly twice a year. That gives them a point to move forward in their work. And given that all of our buildings have different cultures, have different needs, that would be one time when we would probably do it more than once a year. On a district level, I think once we did one, to do it the very next year poses two problems for me. The first one is, depending on what you decide the audit would look like, get expensive. And second, I'm not sure if a year is time enough to get results, make a plan, work towards that plan, and then see some kind of change. And so I'm thinking every 2 years, that might be really good for us to be able to synthesize what's needed. How does that fit in our plan? How do we need to change course? And then give us some time to work at it. But in the meantime, you would have these smaller little audits going on within school buildings. That's my thinking anyway, but I'm not trying to tell you.
I like that idea. I think that also kind of fits with the equity review checklist that I put at the bottom that we talked about at the last meeting. And I know, Malika, I had asked if possibly the equity leadership team could be charged with developing and presenting what an equity checklist might look like. I feel like if that's developed, it just becomes a part of our practice at all times. And it would be very easy to, not easy, but it would be proof right there that we are staying true to our equity policy and to our goal, if that's something that we reference whenever we are voting as a board or making decisions as a building or as a district. Does that make sense?
Kim, can I ask 2 quick questions before I have to jump off? Is that all right?
Yeah.
So on the document, I asked a question about where it states effective teachers. Are we referencing their evaluation level, or are we using effective in a more traditional definition? So it's the 3rd bullet down.
Yeah. My intention was not to reference anything having to do with evaluation.
Okay, very good. Just a clarification. Thank
So,
you.
shall I find a synonym so that there's not any confusion?
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yep.
Thank you for pointing that
Successful
out.
or
Thank you.
something? Mhm.
Yep. And then I guess a point of discussion, of course, I won't be able to have it, but I guess more of a question then is, hold on, sorry, let me open the document again. The district shall provide opportunities for staff to participate in periodic diversity and inclusion courses. I'm wondering if we should be more firm and state that we will require, as if we're going to take a stand and have a policy, but then not ask our staff to have ongoing professional development. I don't know. If we're going to be firm, let's be firm.
Are you thinking we'll be required to do these things, Jen? I think that's a good
I
idea.
do.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's in our purview, but feels like if we're going to lead with equity, then that needs to be absolutely part of professional development.
Yeah.
Well, and there is required professional development every year. So that can just become a part of it.
But I look to you, Malika, you tell us if that's reasonable or not.
Yeah, I certainly would love it. If it were.
Yeah,
I just
are
don't
there landmines?
know.
I don't
mean,
know.
would, yeah, I would look to Sharon to kind of weigh in on how that would all,
Yeah.
but from a teacher view, I had a chance. I met with a teacher group who's going to be working alongside one of my subcommittees on my equity team. And one of the things they pointed out was they wanted to take PD, but they wanted it to be made accessible. So time of day, in place of
Sure.
other things. And so I think the desire is there. We just need to figure out how to word it so that, so yes, you have to, and because you have to, we're going to make sure that it is accessible.
Mhm.
So what does that look like? I guess is my question. I'm excited and willing. Let's roll.
Yeah, perfect.
And obviously, it's hard to ask people to do something without giving them a lot of, resources and help to do it. My only small caveat is that the timing to do it, there's a lot of required training that we have to have for teachers. It's a little less problematic for some other staff. Clearly, for exempt staff, it's not problematic, but for teachers, there's a lot of required training. And especially if you're a new teacher, there's,
Sure.
lots and lots of it. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. It's just that if we have to pay for anything that's outside of the
Yeah.
normal work time, so, we would have to try to, put it into the time in which which doesn't
Sure.
mean it can't be done, or it doesn't
Yeah,
mean that it
it's
shouldn't be
helpful to
done.
know. Yeah,
It's just a consideration.
Sure.
I'm in full support of it, and I think teachers will want it. I mean, they're going to know, well, how am I going to do this if you
Yeah,
don't kind of give me
Yeah.
some guidance?
that's right. All right, forgive me, everyone. I do have to step off now. So thank you.
Okay, Ms. Shaki,
Yes.
before you run off, I did find that policy, the rule, and I've asked if before everybody else leaves, but I'll send it to you, because we had done that work about all those
The dollar
different.
figures.
Yeah, we
Okay.
had done it,
Great.
and it's a little bit different, so, but I think what we did before was probably a little bit better, so.
Okay, fantastic. All right,
Perfect.
thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Hi, Jen.
Bye.
Well, I agree with Jen, though, that if we're going to do all this work on this and we're going to expect teachers to know these things, I think if we say will be required, then that will become a part of what they're required to do. And obviously they're paid for professional development. So if there are other things that need to be done, then they will have to take a back seat to equity, because that's the star right now.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if perhaps we can think of some type of system to where Sharon mentioned new teachers in their first, how many, they have to have so many hours, but maybe we can tier it up. So this series in years one and two, or, you finish these courses and then you take these courses, and so that it's all not glummed into 1 year,
Yeah.
but maybe see if there's something that maybe we could talk about,
Mhm,
so we can make it doable.
mhm.
It kind of stacks itself up to where they get to a point in a number of years, and then they can take others.
mhm.
And I was gonna suggest, if we don't feel comfortable saying require, we could change the wording to say shall strongly encourage and make accessible opportunities.
I agree with that statement. I think that I think a couple of things. One, to strongly encourage you to demonstrate knowledge of equity issues for district, and then secondly, what Malika's suggesting, that in the blocks of required training at the base level for all teachers, all new teachers and all veteran teachers, that we require certain sets of knowledge within that structure, and within that, 1 to 3 years, or a period of time, and then we build on top of that pyramid base another level, and those become optional
Mhm.
trainings.
I like
professional-
that. Mhm. I also see, if, here I go again, just tell me to be quiet if it gets to be too much, but like an equity review checklist, if that becomes something that even at the building level, teachers are familiar with, if you're discussing in a PLC or in a staff meeting, any sort of initiative or program that, let's say we're having a parent math night where families can come in, which I know is a thing that is funded by the state. If they have that checklist as a planning committee for math night, and it becomes something that's a working thing for all staff, I know it's not a formal training, but I think it just would become part of who we are as a district, even at the building level. So we're running a program for families. Does it meet these 10 criteria on the equity checklist?
Yeah, or even are you integrating these concepts into? So I've had conversations with principals over the last few weeks, and they're doing a PLC, and we talk about how they can integrate these conversations into their PLCs. I think that's great.
Yeah, I just see it being something that could be actually used on a daily basis. Even, we were talking about the fundraising law or policy, and if a teacher goes to do a fundraiser for their class, you know, a principal could say, did you take a look at the equity checklist when you were thinking about your fundraising project, you know? And if it becomes a part of common language between administration and teachers and other staff members, I think it just creates an environment of equity.
I support that. I think
So do
that perhaps we could even look, survey the field to see what other checklists of equity there might be out there and being used. And certainly maybe have a committee internally look at what things would go into a checklist and maybe get some teacher feedback on that.
Yeah, and I would love that as well, Dr. Flores. I just created those questions based on that document that Dr. Roby put on the website that Malika provided us with. And then this entire document. So what are we saying as a district? And this checklist should represent what we said we will do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
something else I think that would be good for you to know. You're referring to the letter that was on the website, right?
Correct, yes.
As we begin our strategic thinking with the equity leadership team, we took those bullet points and we are working them into our strategic thinking and planning. And so now those are considered our action steps, and we're working towards what the outcomes would be and how we need to get to them. And so I think we might be part of the way there with helping to present to you guys some type of, I hesitate to use the word checklist because sometimes people do things with checklists that are not necessarily good. Check the box, but to really integrate that learning into the district. So I think that could be in the works already.
Awesome. Is there anything in this strategic plan, in the edits that people made, that any of you think we need to talk about before Malika takes them into account? I don't see our edits as being, this has to change. I think it's more of, here's some things to think about and suggestions.
They were really good in that, you know, we should, you know, make some, you know, some edits according to those. I think, yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the feedback.
Mhm.
So would next steps be taking those thoughts and suggestions and then possibly sending us what you come up with given those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, cleaning up the document, adding the things that we've talked about today,
mhm.
sending it
Mhm.
back out.
Okay,
and
that
then-
sounds good.
Then what, how you want to proceed next with it. In terms
Yeah,
of
I
what-
don't foresee us voting on it at the next board meeting.
No.
I would feel more comfortable talking to President Grant and seeing if it's something that we could present as, I don't know if final is the right word, but maybe we could at least say, here's what we have come up with at the retreat. And it wouldn't be something we vote on then, but quite possibly the board meeting after the retreat, it might be ready to vote. That's my thinking. Does anyone
Well,
else have input?
Or if they need to discuss it at a workshop, a work session, I'm not, you know.
Yeah,
I said this to Ms. Davis earlier. I just think that if we had something to give them on Monday and say, you know, this is not a done deal, but this is what we're doing. This is the way we're going. Please look this over. And if you have anything else, then let Ms. Davis know. And then at the work session, whatever people have reported to you, Kim, we can see if we can work this in or, you know, what other things have to be done. But I think the board should have it for a little while before we ask them to really dig in.
would it make sense when I give my policy committee report for me to reference that in the agenda? You will find what we've been working on. If you could take some time and look over it and let us know if there's any additions or modifications that you think are necessary. Is that appropriate?
You have to ask Sharon, she's the
Oh,
expert.
sure. Yeah, I mean, clearly that's yes, I just say, okay, this is the committee's thinking right now. This is still in the draft form. We'd like people to look at it and give some feedback. By then, maybe you will have confirmed with Ms. Grant when it would come up for discussion. You'd be able to say, you know, we'll discuss it whenever that will be. But we wanted you all to
Yeah.
have some time with it.
Perfect. I like that. Okay.
Malika, are you doing all the writing? Do you do the writing or
I do,
you do? Okay,
for the most part, yeah.
okay. May I be in touch with you just about a couple of,
Yeah, we love having
Absolutely.
an English teacher.
Absolutely.
okay, all right, that's, because nothing was super, super wrong or anything. It's just, you know, like sometimes in these longer, you kind of forget.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was very helpful. I like
Yes.
the
Yeah,
grammar
thank you.
edits.
Okay.
Yeah, we weren't offended at
Yeah.
all.
Not at all.
I don't mean
Not
to
at
do that,
all.
but I,
Not at all.
okay, so I'll just be in touch with you, Malika, and we can just go over it. Okay, is that all right?
Okay, that's
Is that all
fine.
right
Thank
with
you.
everyone else? Because I'm just talking grammar and,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay,
Do your thing.
all right.
Love it.
Good. good.
Okay, Sharon, did you want to address
Yeah,
that?
Yes, just really quickly because I found it. And so we had said before, and I could let me go back. I don't know if I'm able to share my screen or not. Am I? Yep, I am. Let's see. Okay, can you see it?
Okay.
Yes.
yeah, uh-huh.
Okay, so here we had said if the funds intended where my cursor is to be raised is 200 or less, then no prior approval is necessary at all. In the case of the director, in that case, then if it was involved a legal agreement, then the director of technology and the district's legal counsel would have to read. But otherwise, it was 200 or less, they were good. If the amount was between 2 and 5, then prior approval of the principal. If it was more than 5 but less than 1,000, then it went to the executive director. And then, of course, if it was 1,000, it went to the superintendent. So we were right on at least 2 of them, but it was the lowest one. I know we had made some adjustment. So just wondering if that still resonates with you all.
It does.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with those.
Okay, then I will also send this to Ms. Shockey, and this will be what we will present.
Okay.
So we'll vote on this Monday then, these, the things that we
These
did.
are rules, so you won't vote on them,
Okay.
but they'll come up to the board just for their review. But I wanted to, and then after Monday, then we would put them up on the website or whatever to, unless a board member had a question or an issue with it and needed us to go.
So, but on Monday, we are going to vote on the medication thing,
Yes, and the bylaws.
bylaws. Mhm.
Yes, those 2 will be voted on.
Okay, good.
Okay. Do we know, does anybody have anything else to say about agenda items that we've discussed so far?
I'm still on the draft of
Yes.
our policy and strategic plan. And I know that in the document that we were looking at editing, there were some additions at the bottom of it. I don't have it on my computer here because it's in a text from you, Ms. Davis, and it had the bullets that we had. Well, they weren't bullets. They were things that we had added at the end of it that talked about district resources commitment and on equity.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't see those in here. I keep reading it and trying to recall some of those things from memory.
You didn't have it at the end of the piece that we edited, Jose? It wasn't
No,
there?
I don't see it. I don't see it on this one right now on on the piece that I'm looking at for the strategic plan that's on the website, but it was in the text, the edited
Right,
shared document
right.
that we were looking at, and
Right.
had all of the bullets that we had agreed would go in there.
Oh, I can tell you why, Dr. Flores, we did not put up what we had on the website in terms of the meeting documents was what we had presented to you all before we made any of the edits. Because today you all were going to discuss the edits. So we didn't
Okay,
be presumptive and put those up because
okay,
you know, we didn't know what kind of discussion. So
okay.
those will go up to the you know, when at Monday, I guess on at Monday, because I think that's when Ms. Davis said she would.
Okay, okay, so we
Okay.
are in agreement that those edits will be included.
Right, what we will do is we'll make those edits and get those to you all. Malika, can we get those to them by Friday so that they can
Yes.
see it before it goes to the board? So that
Yep.
if there's something that's glaring, you can
Okay.
let us know.
All right,
Would that
Thank
be
you.
okay?
yeah, thank you, that helps.
Wonderful.
Malika, will you be around tomorrow? A certain time would be best for me to call and we can talk?
I think tomorrow I'll tell you really quick. Probably best would be between noon and 2.
Okay, okay. I am a busy woman, Malika, you know, between noon, I mean, there might be something really important.
I'll be grateful if you can fit me in.
I'll try, Malika. I'll give it my best shot.
Thank you.
Oh, now I forgot. Did you say 12 to 2?
Noon and 2. Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dana just texted me and said, right now there is no meeting on Monday. She says, no board meeting on Monday, only the first Monday of the month. So apparently the next board meeting won't be until October, I believe.
Okay.
Are we having a work session? We usually have work sessions.
Not until our retreat isn't until
October.
Yeah, the retreat is I think the board meeting is October 1st.
October 5th.
Oh, 5th, okay,
But
5th.
we have another one in September though, don't we?
Apparently not. Today, the new, they had sent out a revised board meeting agenda,
Yeah, I have that.
which I looked at, but obviously didn't internalize. 'Cause I kept
Well, but
talking
it
about
doesn't say
Monday.
anything about the rest of the month. It just talks about, well, it does have September 21st. Otherwise, they're mostly October dates.
Yes.
So I don't know. Usually we don't have just one meeting a month though.
I think right now we are, it said right now board meetings on Monday. Let's see, October 5th is the board meeting and October 9th is the retreat.
Okay. So then we'll have the document ready on the 5th for the whole board and then discuss it at the, okay.
So Malika, you have more than 2 days,
Yeah.
which is wonderful.
But Malika, I'll probably call you tomorrow because I might forget what I wanted to change.
Yeah, that would be
Be
good.
here.
And then we'll get it out next week.
Yeah,
That would be
works for
wonderful.
me. Thank you.
Anything else that needs to be said?
Well,
Okay,
I want to thank Malika because this is a lot of work and this has been going on forever, Malika. And I'm just really pleased that finally we have something here. It's looking good. So
Yeah.
thank you, Malika, and
And
Sharon.
thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
and
Malika's
Sharon,
been
because
carrying this, so thank you for her.
I've had
And-
good advice. So thank you guys for listening.
do we know if we have any comment cards? I'm assuming we don't. Okay,
Yep, there's no comments.
wonderful.
So I'm not
That-
going to get to see any of you until October.
I know, it's a crazy world right now.
Okay, be safe.
All right.
Yes, be
Yes, I
safe.
will.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you
My
all.
dining room. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.